There it is, Mason. We are live on Second City Gridiron. End of an era. It's only a 3-year era, but still, arguably one of the most popular Bears in the last, 10, 20 years has been traded.
I was sitting, funny enough, playing Hogwarts Legacy, where my wife and I were about to go grab dinner, and it pops up on my phone, and it was one of those things where, depending on the circles you're running in, some you expected it, some didn't, but I definitely was like, I believe this is going to happen. I've been preparing myself for it, but it still leaves you a little bit floored when that happens. Just a player who, like you said, I mean, the amount of energy that was brought, the importance, the swagger, and the potential. I have probably 3, 4 Justin Fields jerseys, another 5 T-shirts. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie right now. His scramble against San Francisco. I don't really have, I guess, the words to truly express what Justin gave to me as a sports fan in this time period, but then also the level of disappointment that this is how it ends.
Yeah, so let's get into it. I mean, I'm joined by Mason West. I am Lester Wildfong. This is going to be a quick, short, barely a podcast, but we had to jump on. I mean, I know it's Saturday night. Most of Chicago is probably close to being drunk. It's a big weekend in the city right now, St. Patrick's Day. But Justin Fields is traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th-round draft pick in 2025 that could become a 4th-rounder if he plays 51% of their snaps this season. And Russell Wilson is presumably the number one there. Okay. He got benched in Denver. I think Justin Fields offers something different than Wilson does, but they're similar players at this point. I mean, so before we get into Pittsburgh, Chicago. So, what are your takeaways from the Fields era? I know we talked a little bit about it here on the pre-show, but obviously it's a sad time. I get why fans are sad. I understand it. It's hitting us all. So what are your initial thoughts on Justin Fields moving on?
I mean, I guess like the two biggest things that take away for me is, one is someone, in terms of how I look at and scout. I use that in air quotes if you're listening to the podcast, because I'm a scout in terms of like my 7th thing down the list of things I am at this point. In terms of what you're looking for when you're looking at some of the quarterbacks coming out of college, there are definitely some lessons learned there in terms of seeing the tools and resources he had, some of the deficiencies he had coming out. But then I would even say, more importantly, the second biggest thing is the management of a player, or we could say mismanagement, because of how that was handled with the Andy Dalton situation, whether or not he was supposed to start year 1 or not start at all. He got none of the starter reps. And then going into the year after that, after Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are fired, Ryan Poles the teardown, that was necessary. You had to. But then Justin is playing with dudes. Once Mooney got hurt, he's throwing to guys that are bagging groceries, basically. The line was a mess. The defense was a mess. He has nothing to really do. Luke Getsy does change the offense. That Patriots game, I remember I was in Disney for that one. And all of a sudden you have some hope that, okay, this is what it's going to be. And then you go into the next year, this last year, and you're like, okay, cool, we got this. And then Getsy goes right back to doing what he wanted to do instead of what Justin was better at. You saw the amazingness of the Pittsburgh Steelers game his rookie year, and you were like super excited about that game. And then just how he declined as a quarterback, not necessarily to his fault, but I think a lot of, like we said, the management, the things around him, the coaching that he had, the comments he made in press conferences in terms of the coaches saying or overcoaching him, it's just a perfect demonstration of how to take someone with so much potential and not access that potential.
Yeah, I think one reason why it hurt so bad is because, I mean, he definitely looked the part of a franchise quarterback. He talked the talk, on the field. It wasn't always perfect, but, there was a swagger about him that he kind of brought to the game. Going back to Mitch Trubisky era, he has kind of had a way with the media and a way when he was in front of the press conference and the way he talked, just kind of way he carried himself. Fields came in. It just was like a 180. I mean, you're like, yeah, this is the guy. I mean, me and you were talking a little bit on the pre-show before we hit live. How remember how when he was drafted, how we felt as Bears fans. I mean, I was so fired up that he fell to the Bears, and a big reason why he fell is because there was some BS floating around about his work ethic.
Yeah.
It got kind of floated, and it's a game, man. I mean, some other teams planted it for whatever reason. It kind of took off, had some legs of its own, and as Bears fans, we're like, good, that's perfect, because then he fell to Chicago. We thought we had our guy, man. That's kind of what I wrote in the article today that I posted at Windy City Gridiron. I'll reiterate a lot of the things you just said. Bad situation, just he kind of came in, and then the whole Andy Dalton thing. It's like you can't create the Pat Mahomes situation in KC,
Yeah.
because that was just a different team. They were in a different place. Alex Smith was there, so Justin Fields coming in, bad situation from the start, Getsy situation, that is what it is. It's just my memory of this era is going to be always what if, and I'm always a fan. I'm going to be always a fan of Justin Fields, and it's cool that he's in Pittsburgh, because AFC, we can root from him from afar. That's actually, before I was a Bears fan, I was a Steelers fan
Oh
when I
wow.
was really little. So I've always kind of had a soft spot for that franchise. So it's going to be nice to kind of watch him, and I have a feeling that that at some point he's going to take that job from Russell Wilson.
Well, and exactly. Ryan Poles said, right, he wanted to do right by Justin. And depending on who you listen to, who you believe, there were discussions about some other places that Justin could end up. Philadelphia Eagles was floated out there. Indianapolis Colts was floated out there. New England Patriots. But the thing with all three of those teams, Justin has really no chance to play at those places. I mean, best case scenario, you do the Mr. Trubisky route, like he went to Buffalo and then got a job elsewhere. Anthony Richardson is going to be the starter for the Colts. Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter for the Eagles. And depending on what happens here, one is going to imagine that I think the Patriots are probably going to take a quarterback. So that one's a little murky. So if you truly value Justin as a person and think he can succeed with the right things around him, I mean, this is Poles in theory doing right, because let's be real, Russ is I mean, no one's excited about Russ. He did better last year under Sean Payton. I don't know if that's going to carry over to Pittsburgh. And it's a 1 year, mercenary vet minimum deal. At this point, Justin could come in and part of the way through next year. I'm on week 3, week 4, and we saw all the issues that Russ had in Denver in terms of his personality too. Right, the whole working out on the plane and Mr. Unlimited and all that. I don't think that's going to jive well in that Pittsburgh locker room. I don't think it's going to jive well with Mike Tomlin. Standard is Mr. Mike Tomlin, and I think Justin's going to get in there, and teammates and coaches are going to gravitate to him as a person, and then eventually the potential on the field.
I see it working out pretty good for him. He's going into the 4th year of his contract. They have a decision to make on his 5th year option. So the interesting thing here is the draft, the compensation. We have heard for weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, this trade buzz has been going around since the Super Bowl. I mean, it kind of picked up when the season ended. The Bears season had ended, like everyone hoped. There was some stuff there, some rumbling at the Super Bowl. It picked up at the combine. There was some stuff floated about a 1st round pick for Justin Fields, maybe a 2nd. I mean, it was a weird market this year. The Kirk Cousins things happened. A lot of quarterbacks were on the market. Baker Mayfield was out there. So it's like, as this was going on, you kind of looked at it and you're like, man, the market's not what the Bears had hoped for. They ended up getting a 6th round pick that could be a 4th. But like you said, did Poles do right by Justin? I think he did, because Pittsburgh's a great organization. I mean, it's one of the top class organizations in the entire NFL. It's what Chicago and the McCaskies would love to emulate.
Exactly.
It's a family owned business, but they took it to another level. And then that's not where the Bears are. We hope they get there at some point, but that's just not where the Chicago Bears are right now. So he's in a good place for him. I think he's fine. It's not like he can't become a good quarterback, good passing quarterback later in his career. It's happened throughout the league. Geno Smith more recently, going a little old school. Brad Johnson. There's plenty of guys throughout the league. Alex Smith, I just mentioned. Alex Smith's another guy. He was terrible early on in his career. He ended up becoming a multiple-time Pro Bowler in KC. A lot of it is coaching. Coaching matters a lot, and he did not get the best coaching in Chicago. So I just think he'll be in a good situation here, and I think he'll eventually take that job, and I think he'll eventually do something there. Because the thing with Mike Tomlin, he'll build around what his guys can do. Last year in Chicago, they tried making Justin Fields what he wasn't, and that was a problem.
I mean, exhibit A for that is Luke Getzey changing which foot is forward for his quarterback, because that's what Luke wants. And it's like, cool, but what does your quarterback want? And the
Yes.
name we haven't said yet is Arthur Smith, offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. While, he's gotten a bad rap for what happened in Atlanta because, how Pitts fell off the map. Bijan didn't get as many touches as he should have. Drake London, I think there's some questionable stuff there. He's a creative offensive coordinator. He's a mastermind in designing the run game. And so if there's an offensive coordinator, and that's why one of the reasons people were pairing Justin to Atlanta before Arthur Smith got even fired was because of that too. So it's a pretty good landing spot for Justin. Like you were talking about with the compensation. I mean, yeah, some of us, I'll say myself, got lost in the sauce in terms of how much Justin would be valued. I got excited about the potential first. Yeah. I really thought it'd be like a second round pick. I have a mock draft up bare bones on Second City Gridiron, one of the first ones where that happened. Like you said, it was a weird off season in terms of the quarterbacks available, some quality ones available. And, when you're sitting there as a team that has the number one pick and these other teams are looking and saying like, well, this is what we have available to us. And the other valid point too, before I get to bring that up, is the spread of that Shanahan-McVay system. It's all over the league now. All these teams, like example, Minnesota Vikings are running it. And we saw Justin struggling with it because it's so heavily based on timing under Luke Getzey. So if these teams that needed quarterbacks, are you really going to take a chance on Justin even as your backup when you saw the system didn't really work for him too? So it was just a mixture of a bunch of bad stuff that ended up in this particular compensation.
Yeah, like you said, he's going to a good spot with Arthur Smith. That's where he had to go to a place where it has an offensive mind that is willing to be innovative. The league is trying. Yeah, there's a lot of running quarterbacks in the league right now, a lot of guys that can win with their feet. But still, as a whole, the league is pretty much. We want our quarterbacks to be pocket passers. We want them to play on time. They want them to be more cerebral than athletic. That's just where the league is still. I mean, it's changing slowly but surely, but there aren't very many offensive play callers that are really open to kind of doing that. And Smith's one of them. I know Greg Roman has done the stuff. Obviously there was some talk possibly there. The stuff obviously in Philly is happening with that. So putting him in a good spot. Ryan Poles talked about it at his press conference that he wanted to do right by Justin. I mean, when he made that comment, I know a lot of Bears fans, kind of blew it off, but I mean, that was a really telling comment, because he could have very easily came out and supported this guy and said, hey, Justin's our quarterback. I mean, at some point he could have done it, but everything kind of led to this. It just seemed like this is where the wind was blowing for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it finally happened. And now, as Bears fans, we all have to come together and be Bears fans again, because whoever the quarterback is, and we're assuming probably Caleb Williams, unless the medicals don't check out, unless there's a weird red flag that pops up. But regardless, Ryan Poles will take the top quarterback on his board in the draft, and that's who we're all going to have to rally behind. But the Bears Twitter, Bears social media, Bears fans, the comments, the calling to radio, it's been brutal, man. I mean, I've never seen something like this. I liken it to politics, and I hate talking politics because I don't like politics at all. But it's the same vibe, man. It's like, this is sports, man. This is supposed to be fun.
What was it, like about a month ago, maybe someone had put together and made those like political campaign ads, one for Caleb and one for Justin, and it was, very parody, very spoofy in a funny way, where playing on this thought process, because that's what it is, right? And that's the thing, I've been on Twitter all that long, and I haven't been doing this podcast stuff all that long, but this is the darkest time that I have been a part of this. It's so nasty, like just people attacking people. It's getting so aggressive. And then even today, just the dunking that's going on Twitter, where people are celebrating Justin getting traded almost, or not even that, but celebrating that they're right. This is not something to celebrate right now. There's no victory laps in this. And it's tough. So I'm glad that we can take a breath, that we can move on. Hopefully, over the next month-ish before the draft happens, we can come together and heal as a Bears community and support the team the best way that we can.
Yeah, there's no personal dunks by me. I'm not going at anybody. I just kind of threw out a this is Bears Twitter now, and it's Jordan
Yeah.
Duncan. That's what Twitter is today, and we all knew it was coming. And the reason was because it was so angry and so mean spirited. It's if you came out and said, "Hey, I think that the Bears are going to trade the Justin Fields," or "Hey, I think they're going to trade one," they came at you.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, I disagree. It was, you stupid MF. What do you? It's like, what, over a
Personal.
sports opinion? What are we doing here? And people have been blocked, and it's like it's a whole thing. I've maintained my stance for months. It just seemed like this is where it was heading. But if it doesn't happen, I would have cheered my guy on because I'm a Fields fan. I'm a Bears fan first. I cheer the laundry. That's always been my motto.
Yeah, and I said this probably a week after that final Packers game. If the Panthers didn't suck as much as they did this year, and they
Yes.
ended up with the 6th pick for the sake of argument, there's a really good chance that Justin's still the quarterback.
Yep.
You use that 6th pick to get a receiver, 9th pick right away. Boom, you get your defensive end, and you move on. You build around Justin, but it's a very weird, specific chance opportunity where you lined up where not only did you have the number 1 pick, you had the number 1 pick in a draft that has not just Caleb Williams, who it could be, I'm not saying he is, it could be a generational talent, but also some pretty solid ones around him. This isn't not to dunk on, I'm using the word dunk a lot right now, the Kenny Pickett, who is no longer on the Steelers, Malik Willis, Desmond Ritter, Matt Corral draft. I mean, it's not that. If that was that draft, then Justin would still be around too. So it's not a personal thing against Justin, and too many people took it that as a personal thing to protect him, and they attacked other people, and it's just too much.
Yeah, I mean, my mentions, my social media, a lot of comments about how some in the media were unfair, and yeah, part of it is what I tweeted about earlier. It's a shock jock mentality, like the Colin Coward coming out with these ridiculous takes and stuff that he's hearing. It's like yeah, some of these guys are fanning the flames because that's their job. They're looking for engagement. So if you can rile up a fan base, and as Bears fans, we're easy to rile up. I mean, let's be honest. We are so passionate. It doesn't take much to get us going. Take a shot at our guy, take a shot at something, navy and orange, we're going to come at you. So some of these shock jocks were kind of ridiculous. I know a lot of people kind of went at Parkins because he bought the Caleb Williams jersey 13, which he may not be 13 anymore because, of course, the Keenan Allen trade. So first off, I'm not buying no player jersey anyway. That's not my thing. If I ever did get a jersey, it'd be old school throwback, but that's another story. But
Oh, I'm a Jersey guy. I know some
yeah,
people weird about it where they're like, don't wear another man's name on your back or something like that. I'm all about the jersey.
do it. The only reason I'm against it is because trades happen. These things
Yeah.
happen. So like for me, it's old school. Give me a throwback if I'm going to get a throwback. But yeah, a lot of people are trying to get mad at the guys in local media or even what we do. I mean, we're podcasters. We're bloggers. We're media these days. That's just how the era has changed. So it's like, I get it if some people are trying to fan those flames of hatred and trying to be vile about towards the other guy, because that happened. But I mean, it wasn't us. I mean, it wasn't some other guys that I follow, and basically find your people right on social media. Believe who you want, but let's, like you said, let's all heal as Bears Nation, and let's kind of get behind whatever happens here.
And whether you can take it as a good thing or a bad thing, as we move forward, getting closer to the draft, and once we're in the draft, it's going to be pretty quick because the Bears only have 4 picks right now, as of right now. So you're in, you're out.
In, you're out. It's quick. It's going to be all be done here in the first day. They got it 1-1-3, and then we wait till the next day 3, and it's pick 4. So it's going to be quick. So do you want to get into the Caleb Williams at all? The possibility that he could be the guy, or
Yeah. I mean, I think there Caleb Williams is interesting because if you just purely go by tape, he's a dude, right?
Yeah.
you can put him. I don't want to put him in like specifically rankings in terms of like prospects coming out, because that's kind of hard. So it's more of a bubble. So the
Yeah.
bubble he exists in is the Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, the guy that you're confident that you're taking there. There's the other stuff that you're just not sure about. I could not care less about crying. That's big boys cry. I cry when I watch The Lion King, and I'm probably at some point going to have some misty eyes with Justin. I'm going to. It just is what it is. I don't care about painting the nails. Who cares less? What I do care about some of the other things, but again, they're not detrimental. They're things you note. You put it in your book and you file it. Like they're not talking after UCLA. Is there some of the stuff with the CBA in the conversation going on there? But that's something we have to get used to as well, though. He's the first of a new breed of not just quarterback, but player, and not just football player. But the NIL stuff is different. These guys gals too, are out there negotiating deals on NIL money, going and playing for that. And so these are business people, and they're doing it from an early age. They're not walking in, oh, gee, shucks, mister, thank you for giving me my first paycheck. That's just not what it is. Yeah. And people who are more old school don't like that. They want them to come in, just grind it out, and play on for a contract and earn the next one. And I get all that, but it's a new era. We have to get used to it. Is he going to work hard, and is he going to produce on the field? That should be all at this point we care about.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's a new era. I mean, the NIL has changed things. Social media has changed things. I mean, he has like 100,000 followers on Twitter. I'm not sure what he has on his Instagram. His dog has an Instagram, for crying out loud. So this is a guy that has been monetized his brand at an early age. He has a charitable foundation he already is involved with. So these guys and gals, like you said, are coming up. They're cognizant of their brands. They're on social media. They're an entity. And they're a business. It's big business. It's kind of, I know a lot of Bears fans see what's going on here and they think, oh, it's like the Ball family.
Yep.
And, his father was front and center in everything. And I have not even seen Caleb Williams' father in one interview yet. I mean, maybe it's out there and I'm just not looking hard enough. But is it something the Bears have to know? Like you said, yeah. But the Bears have detectives. They have their scouts. They're going to dig deep into everything. And they have been, I'm sure, for a couple of years now, because they've kind of seen this, where it's going. They've dug into this. If there's any red flags up there at all, they're going to find it. They're going to vet the whole process. They're going to know what's BS and what's not, because there's a lot of stuff out there. Like we talked about Justin, the whole thing that came out for him was BS, and it's turned out to be. So they're going to make their call. They're going to pick their guy. And right now it looks like it's Caleb, but if it's not Caleb, it's going to be Drake May or JJ McCarthy or Daniels. I mean, who knows? Bo Nix maybe. So regardless, the Bears are going to have a rookie quarterback under center. So I know this is barely a podcast. We got to get in and out pretty quick. So before we go, rookie quarterback next year, the Bears make the playoffs.
I'm going to say yes, because, and I'm trying to make this as short as I can, because I think if you are going with Caleb Williams or a Drake May, those are my top two guys. I think they have the skill sets that will afford you that. Ryan Poles has done a fantastic job of surrounding now whoever that quarterback's going to be. DJ Moore. Now you got, often we talk about Keenan Allen. You got Gerald Everett, who's like a legit move tight end. You got DeAndre Swift off the backfield now. The offensive line's getting more solid. We haven't even gotten a draft season yet. And the defense should continue what it did last year with Eberflus continuing to call plays. Add into that, the NFC is a little weaker in general. You have the Vikings. They no longer have Kirk Cousins, so might take a step back. I think the Lions have a ceiling with Jared Goff. So really, you're talking about, can the Bears ascend it to a point where you're battling Green Bay? When you wrap all that together, and I mean, even think about this team was, 3 wins away from making the playoffs last year. So yeah. I think it's entirely a possibility. If I had to put some money on it right now, I'd say yes.
I think I am going to put some money on it. I think the Bears are going to make the playoffs next year. And this should be such an exciting time for Bears fans. And like I said, the next few weeks, the excitement will start to come. Because like you said, this team has been upgraded, across the board. Keenan Allen, I have been a fan of his for a long time. He is just so precise. Him and DJ Moore, you already mentioned Gerald Everett, Cole Kmet. I'm a big Cole Kmet guy. The O-line, it's tweaked. They got some competition at center. And like you said, the draft's still coming, and there's still some free agency moves to
Yeah.
make here. So it's an exciting time for Bears fans. It's sad that it's an end of the Justin Fields era, but that's where we are now. So let's get on board and let's cheer for the Navy and Orange.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm still also probably gonna get my Steelers Justin Fields jersey at some point.
Yeah,
I'm
why not?
going to, because again, that's how I roll. It'll be exciting. And I did want to give a little shout out to Chris Core, who made this actually background. It's flowing around on Twitter. You can find him at Chris_studios. It's really cool. He does some great work, and I thought it was just a great homage to Justin. So I wanted to rep that for the podcast. If you're listening to it, go check it out. I'll retweet the link that he put out too.
Let me make it a little bigger real quick. I'm going to kick myself out for a second.
Yeah, I'll lean out the way. I mean, you can just see it's a cool graphic. It's a good homage to Justin, and he does some really cool stuff.
Oh, now we're flipped. I can't stand being on this side. I got to get back over here. There we go. No, that's cool, man. I like doing things for artists. I'm very into the artist community. I like those guys to do the thing and make their money and get their flowers whenever they can. So that's cool. Tweet his stuff out. It's on your Twitter, you said?
Yeah, I'm tweeting it right now, actually.
Yeah, tweet that out. So, but yeah, man, fun time. Saturday nights. Bears fans, do not drink too much. Be safe. Be smart. And bear down. Thanks, guys.
Bear down.